How much money could you have made had you bought every skin in Counter-Strike's first weapon case back in 2013 and sold it today? Time for your daily dosage of regret. One of every stat track and non-stat track skin, plus weapon case, would have set you back $333, which could be sold today for almost $6,000. 18 times more! I had a sense of deja vu when I was doing this. Turns out I did exactly the same thing back in 2020. But things have changed since then because the value of skins has grown substantially more. Buying the weapon case itself, for instance, now sets you back over $90. But at release, it was approximately $2.50. So buying $30,000 of the case back then would now make you a millionaire. Oh, isn't it easy with hindsight? But of course, the market doesn't quite work like that, because trying to buy that many cases back then would have boosted the price upwards, and trying to sell that many today would quickly drop the value. That's because the market, just like twists, just isn't liquid enough. And also be aware of manipulation. If a skin is rare, somebody could buy up all the available stock and then sell it to themselves for a much higher price, which would give the illusion on the charts that the skin is suddenly worth a lot more than what people were previously willing to pay for it. I've done this before. Back in the early days of Bitcoin, I saw a lesser known coin with an incredibly small market cap, and I was like, what if I buy all this up and attempt to sell it for double the price? I sort of had this assumption that everybody else on the site must at least be as knowledgeable as I was about this, but to my surprise, they weren't, and it caused a bit of a rush on the coin that I was manipulating. People buying it up, and lots of speculation on the forums as to why its price was shooting up so much. So it turns out most of the people trading Bitcoin are just desperate gamblers. Pleased I'm not part of a community like that anymore. Anyway, I was able to sell a bunch of my coins for more than I had bought it for, but I didn't make a big profit or anything, because it wasn't long before the market was flooded with other people trying to sell the same coin, which they had retrieved from other exchanges to exploit the arbitrage. I'd imagine the same would happen with Counter-Strike skin price manipulation. The AK-47 case hardens are currently rising in value very quickly, after a while of stability. The factory new version cost $25 at release and now goes for more than $1,000. Crazy. The AWP Lightning Strike shows the problems that arise when there aren't enough trades going on to determine the price. At first glance, it looks as though the minimal wear version is the most valuable, but it's all just down to so few sales being made that you can't gauge a proper price. But historically, the factory new version has been worth more, even if it too is rather rare, hence the huge fluctuations in price, like around here where it averages around $1,300, but the value of individual weapon skins being sold fluctuates wildly around that mark. Like here, where someone accidentally sold theirs for $1.30. Whoops. Let's play a game. Say back in 2013, you had $500 to invest in a weapon skin from this case. How much would it be worth today? $500 worth of Desert Eagle Hypnotic stat tracks would be worth $2,600 today, and that's the worst investment from this case. SG Ultraviolet stat tracks would be worth $3,200, MP7 Skulls, stat track again, would be $4,200. And AWP Lightning Strikes, stat track, worth nearly $10,000. You'll notice I'm saying stat track a lot, and these haven't even gone up in value as much as the non-stat track ones have. $500 worth of standard AWP Lightning Strikes would now be worth $17,000. Org Wings, $25,000. Glock Dragon Tattoo, $36,000. And the winner is MP7 Skulls in minimal wear condition. $500 worth of these, bought in 2013, would today be worth $50,000. But why limit it to buying at release and selling now? The SG553 Ultraviolet, at its cheapest, cost just 30 cents, so buying $500 worth of them back then would now be worth over $100,000. But the real winner has to be the case itself, which at one point dropped to just 4 cents per crate. 4 cents! Which rather horribly means that had you bought $500 worth of them at that point, you'd now be a millionaire. In theory. I say in theory because, like I've pointed out already, the market isn't liquid enough, like twists. But also because, while with hindsight it seems so obvious when you should have bought and sold something, all the time you're holding onto it, you're thinking, well, if I sell now, I'll make a great profit. What if it drops further later? Even now, if you had $1 million worth of weapon case 1 skins sat in your inventory, you'd be thinking, damn, I should have sold earlier this year when it was $160 a case. I've already lost $500,000 by holding for too long. And don't forget how everybody you know suddenly becomes an expert, telling you what you should be doing with your money and selling cases based solely on what the market's currently doing. And when you remind them that they could be doing it with their money, suddenly it's different for some reason. And then, when you do eventually sell, You'll be super happy with the profit for a while, but then the what ifs begin creeping in. Like, what if I had bought more back then? And damn, if I hadn't sold when I did, it would have doubled in value again. Why didn't I just sell half instead? And so on. But hey ho, let's see how investing in the Weapon Case 1 at release stacks up against other investments you could have made at the same time. Sticking $333 into a diversified stock portfolio could, today, be worth roughly $1,400. And that's fairly safe and reliable in the grand scale of things, especially compared with all the other things I'll be comparing. But it's boring, isn't it? Because spending $333 on one of every weapon skin in this weapon case collection would now be worth almost $6,000, 4 times more than investing in stocks and shares. But there are even better choices you could have made. $333 all in on Nvidia stock in 2013 is now worth $150,000, and, of course, had you bought Bitcoin back in August 2013, it would now be valued at $260,000. And had you bought in January 2013, it would now be more than $2 million. It's all so easy with hindsight. And that's it for your daily dose of depression.